Hi guys, it's X. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little different than what I am used to. I'm not a financial advisor whatsoever, but I feel like I developed financial freedom about a few years ago, maybe 1 to 2 years ago, and I truly didn't know much about money besides like staying out of debt, saving, but other than that, there was so much more to learn about finances and becoming financial freedom and just views and ideas that I had of what financial freedom meant. And so I kind of wanted to just share with you everything that I kind of learned. So topics that I will be going over, I'm going to make kind of an agenda just because of things that I personally didn't know. And like I said, I'm not a financial advisor whatsoever. I'm just going to teach you what I learned this year that kind of made me a little bit more financially literate and what my idea of financial freedom is and how I kind of got there. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about books that I read, my 403b increase, which is like a 401k, upgrading my credit card, the stock market, high yield savings account, talking to others, my Roth IRA, mistakes that I made, and then influencers, and then like what I've changed using my CME money at work. So let's just jump right into it. Okay, so first things first, what is financial freedom? I grew up in the projects of East LA. So to me, I don't want to say dirt poor, but I also felt like growing up, I think materialistic things like just living in a home. Like honestly, I never thought I would live in a house, which I don't know my home, but I never even lived in a house. Like to me, living in an apartment was probably as good as it's gonna get. And depending on where you live in the world, that might not make sense because like in New York, I think everybody lives in an apartment, not exactly a home. But here in LA, like owning a home is such like a big thing that people aspire to have. Having fancy cars, just materialistic things, having nice clothes, nice jewelry, whatever. Honestly, as I get older, that kind of stuff just doesn't really matter to me. So what financial freedom means to me is time freedom, not having to work. My dad did a really good job growing up. There is anything I can thank him for is helping me financially in the sense of education. My dad always drilled in my sister's heads and I that like you should not go into debt, which actually I never have been. I've only taken one loan out in my life, and that was for my car and for my car loan because I had to buy it. But like school, I never took out student loans. I always worked my ass off for it because I was just so scared of being in debt that I think his like lesson just went a little too deep for me in that sense. He always taught me to live below my means, which I didn't understand until I got older, like I said, just because everyone wants to look nice and like buy stuff that they don't need, but I had to learn that later. And then my income to debt ratio, that is something that I never really quite understood. I've always like tried to keep my bills as low as possible. Never been, thankfully, in credit card debt thanks to my dad's like information, but also just not creating a ton of bills for myself either. I've had roughly the same amount of monthly debt, meaning like bills, like so basically I only pay for, I don't have a card payment, so like I pay for my rent, I pay for my cell phone bill, whatever streaming services, like just to be honest, I only have Hulu that I pay for. My phone bill, I don't know if I said that already, and then my car insurance, which I don't even really count my car insurance just because I pay in a lump sum every 6 months and I always save a ton of my money, so I just take that out of my savings, so I don't really account for that in my bills. Oh, and my gym membership, I'm like, let me scroll and make sure. I always have my bills written down. So yeah, rent, cell phone, iCloud, Hulu, LA Fitness. That is it. That is all the bills that I pay for monthly. And then obviously you have your necessities of like what you need, shampoo, groceries. Grocery bill is like my biggest bill. But yeah, anyway, let's jump into what I did this year to change things. So I read a ton of books and I have other books here in this little library. I only started doing audiobooks recently, so let me just make sure. Okay, so I have Rich AF. Rich AF by Vivian 2. So I listened to that, and then I don't want to mention these other ones because they're not financial books, but they are like habit books. So those are the ones that I listen to. But the financial books that I did read are Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I think is like one of the most highest selling books that there is out there. I read The Psychology of Money, I Will Teach You to Be Rich, and then I read this. So I do want to say, so I started dabbling in the stock market this year, but this was my friend's Bible. Like, I started talking to people at work about like their finances, what they do, and this was my friend's Bible, and he was like, this is the best reference book, like continue, like read it and you'll understand the stock market. To be honest, it took me several months to finish reading this. So by the time I was done, I was like, what did I learn? Like, I learned how to read like a basic chart and stuff. Like, there are a ton of charts here that they have to teach you on how to read it and just some tips. But like I said, I have to reread this book. I'm sure it's a really great reference. And in the Vivian 2 book, I believe it was her, or it was the one Badass by Jensen Sarah, I don't remember, but one of those authors said something to me that really clicked, and I was like, oh wow, she's right. Basically what they said was like, we are all given the tools, right? Like when you play Monopoly, you all know the rules, right? But there's always someone that's like really good, and that's because they know the rules so well, they know how to play the game very well. And like, I felt like, I was like, oh, that is right, because my friend recommended this book. He said it was the Bible. Like, he said this is how he learned. He's almost a millionaire. I read this book and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Sorry, like for my French, but like, I was like, okay, cool. I still don't know what to do. Can you help me here? So like, I really liked that quote that they said. So even though I finished reading this book and still a little confused, I know that I have to dive deeper into this. I Will Make You Rich. So a lot of these books I feel teach the same thing. This has like, if you were trying to get out of debt, like a plan of how to help you, like credit cards, stuff like that. I got what I needed out of this book, but I felt like a lot after reading all these books, I feel like they kind of teach you all the same thing, and I only got a little bit of snippets out of each book. One thing that I did do, and we'll talk about a little bit later, was update my credit card, and I learned that from Vivian 2, which I didn't know you could do. And when we'll talk about that when we get there. Sorry. And then Psychology of Money, I really like because it taught me like, don't get too greedy, don't do this. People like think this way, and I was like, okay, that is a good mindset to have. And then I don't remember if it was in this book. No, I want to say was in this book, but I have a stock. It was one of my first stocks that I first bought, and it went really well. It went from like $50 to $63 in a few months. And it said in the book, do not hold on to a stock emotionally. Like, if you hold on to a stock for emotion, you're gonna lose money. And I did. That stock now is at $52, and I was pissed because I was like, I lost so much money, and part of me is still like, it'll go back up. Delusional. So I'm like, I should have sold when my friend told me to like sell, and he's like, hey, like pay attention to this chart, and I just didn't listen, and of course it hit my pocket hard. And then this I really liked this book because it taught me about like what an asset is and what a liability is, and the difference between them, and how to just make your portfolio very well rounded. That is one thing I can say. I don't have a very well-rounded portfolio in the sense because I don't own a home, I don't own property. Like I have one credit card, not in debt, like barely use it. So yeah, but these are the books that I read. And I feel like if you are already financially literate, I think every type of education will give you a I don't know. I don't think any education is wasted, but at the same time, if you're already financially literate, I just felt like after reading all these books, I was like, oh, I'm kind of listening to the same thing over and over again. So it just depends. If you're already financially literate, then I don't recommend like picking up financial books. But if you're new like me, definitely read. The best habit that I have learned and picked up was reading, and I read everything and anything and everything. All right. 401k, 403b, and how I increase them. So I talked earlier about keeping your income to debt ratio very low. When I was a full-time nurse and a part-time nurse practitioner, and I was making so much money between the two jobs, I was saving so much of my money, but my bills were very low. So my income was super high and my bills were very low. So I had all this money and I was just saving it stupidly. Wasn't investing it, was just putting it in a savings account that was barely generating 0.1% or 0.01% interest. So one thing that I decided to do this year and one thing that I didn't know that is probably common knowledge, but like I said, I was so financially illiterate, I didn't know this. And my dad was like, I taught you this. I told you this. I've told you this for years. And I was like, I think I just wasn't in the mental headspace to receive that knowledge at the time, but I was now that I'm learning about it. So one thing that I didn't realize, which I'm going to give you an example of, when I first started my nursing job and was making money from it, from being a nurse for a few years, mind you, I don't travel or anything like that. This is just base pay, not overtime, anything like that. I was making $120,000 a year. I don't have kids. I don't have anything, any write-offs, nothing like that. So I paid like $4,000 in taxes that year. That's a lot of money. I've never paid money I never owed money basically at the end of the year. So I paid like $4,000 out of pocket at the end of the year that year. Then flash forward to me becoming a nurse practitioner and, having my dual income. I had to pay, I think I made $150 that year. I paid $11,500. I nearly fell out of my effing chair when I saw how much I owed, because I was like so heartbroken, because I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize like that $30,000 increase in my income alone was gonna hurt me so badly when it came to tax. And so I was shocked. And one thing I didn't realize, and I learned in these books, is that I believe the max right now that you can contribute to your 401k is $23,000 a year. And they don't count that towards your overall tax bracket. So I sat there screaming in my car as I'm listening to this, because I was like, you mean to tell me that if I would have just maxed out my 403b that year, I would have never had to pay the $11,500. I would have paid $4,000 again. Why didn't I know this? Like, what the hell? I mean, yeah, you'll be taxed at the end, like when you get it out. But I was like, why didn't I know that? So the first thing I did, within reason, was I was just contributing the bare minimum to get a company match. So at my nursing job, I believe I was at 4% or 5%, and then at the same thing at my nurse practitioner job. So my nurse practitioner job actually offered it my 403b when I was part-time. When I went per diem, you usually don't get those benefits, so they stopped contributing. And I was sad because I was like, oh, like I still wanted to contribute if I could. I actually went back on the website and I was still able to contribute. Will they match me? No. But at least I'm still contributing. So since it's my own money and I'm not getting a contributing percentage, I increased that to 20%. So 20% of my income goes to my 403b at my nurse practitioner job. In my nursing job, 10% of my income goes to that. So right now I'm like between both jobs, 30% of my income, and you can't go over the limit. So I made sure I was going to stay at the 23,000 because I don't want to go over. But because of that, like I increased it as much as I could. Honestly, I did not see a huge thing in my income drop. Like, I did not see, like, my paychecks still look the same. Like, I just got a bonus. I think it was like $250 at work at my nursing job, and I was like, oh, we got a bonus. I didn't even realize, because my paycheck is around the same that it always is week to week. Or before I forget, because this was not on my list, and it's only because I just opened it, was a FSA or a HSA. I did not have one before. My coworker was trying to convince me, like, it's pre-tax money, you can use it for like massages, anything health related, like stuff like that, like your co-pays, you could pay with it. And I was like, whatever, like, I barely go to the doctor. That's not true. I'm at the doctor all the time. I go to several different doctors. So I was like, you know what? I think this year it'll really benefit for me. I don't know the nitty-gritty details, to be honest. This is my first time actually having one, and I set up for it, but I don't know how to even petition for it. So I will look into that. So make sure if you sign something, you know the nitty gritty details. I know like the percentage of what I'm contributing, but other than that, I don't know how to like petition. I thought they were going to send me a card, or I don't know, but I opened that this year. And the reason why was because I've been having a lot of health issues lately, and $40 to me in this, like, okay, my copay is $40 when I go see the doctor. So to me at first I was like, I could afford $40 once in a while. Like, it's fine. I don't need to have another account for this specifically. But then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, I started going to therapy. Like, that's $150 a session. I just had to go get an endoscopy. I had to schedule the first visit in order to get that endoscopy, and then I had to schedule a follow-up visit. So I paid like $40 twice for those co-pays, so that's $80. My EGD out of pocket was like $538, and then I'm still expecting more bills because I have to pay for the facility costs. I have to pay for the anesthesiologist. So like, there's just more bills that I'm going to be getting that aren't necessarily covered by insurance. So to me, it just made sense. Like, I might as well just get it. If it's pre-taxed, why not? So look into that if you're employer. Okay, next thing I did was upgrade my credit card. I learned that from Vivian too. I remember specifically because I didn't know you could do this. So upgrading your card is not getting another card. It is simply just seeing if I've had my credit card since I was, I believe, 20. I started off with $500, then slowly the amount increased over time. And so I never considered getting another card or switching cards or doing any of that, because I'm like, I only have one credit card. I don't need a bunch. Like I said, I don't like to be in any type of debt. But everyone always told me, like, put everything on your credit card and just pay it off with your money. And I was like, I used to just use my credit card for emergencies, or like if I just needed to buy something in between paychecks that I don't know, couldn't necessarily wait for. But I didn't realize that, like, I was like, my credit card offered, I think, 1% cash back or something. Not a lot. But I didn't realize you can actually petition to like upgrade your card for better points. And so once I realized that, I started looking into it. It still made me a little bit nervous to start putting everything on my credit card and still play by the rules, because you should, in order to keep a good credit score, be less than 30% in debt on your credit card. So for me, I have a $3,000 credit limit, and I can only spend up to $900 and still be within good standing and it not affect my credit score. And sure enough, when I first got my credit card upgraded, somebody freaking did fraud on me like the first month that I had it. So I had to cancel it and get another one sent to me, which was so funny to me because I literally had just gotten the card. Two, I was having, I don't want to say financial issues, but like, my cat went into heart failure, and his whole stent cost me like $4,000. So I put some of it on the credit card and some of it on my debit card, and I was like, okay, at least I will get points for this. But then I looked at my credit score and it dropped like 7-8 points, and I started freaking out. My husband has a really good credit score, so I was like asking him, have you ever like obviously his credit score is better than mine. So I was like, do you put everything on your credit card? And he's like, yeah, I just put everything on my credit card. I get the points and, you know, I pay it off every month. I'm like, so do I. I never have a balance. So like, I don't know why our credit scores are so different. And he was like, oh, probably because that's the only, like, like I said, I've only had one loan and I don't have any assets. So he was like, it's probably that. And I was like, but do you still stay under the 30%? And he's like, oh yeah, definitely. And I was like, okay, let me do this again. My credit score ended up going back up. But now I'm just like, honestly was like a little hesitant because I'm like, are these points even worth it to me? But I don't know. It's up to you and your comfort level. But yeah, I updated my credit card this year and just started putting more things on it. I also have 2 different bank accounts now. So one for my nurse practitioner money, which I don't make as much money there because I'm only there like once a week. I use that for my like fun money, so that's what I've been putting on my credit card. And then my nursing job, I use that for my bill money. So yeah, that's what I did. I upgraded my credit card and got more points on everything I spend, and I've just been trying to play the balance with. Next thing I want to talk to you about is a high yield savings account. I don't know why I waited so freaking long to get a high yield savings account. My dad has been telling me and trying to convince me to switch banks for the longest time, but because I was so loyal to my bank, I had been with my bank since it was Washington Mutual, who doesn't exist anymore, and they had upgraded my accounts. So like I was like a premier account or client, I don't know, whatever. But I had stipulations. I had to keep a certain amount of money in my account at all times. And I was doing CDs for a while because as long as I, in my overall account, had this certain amount of money, I was still able to keep that premier status and still able to make a little bit of money off the CDs. CDs honestly don't make you a ton of money. I think I had one, I want to say for $50,000 to $75,000, and I think I made like $500 to $800 in 8 months. I don't even know, to be honest. I don't remember. But it was something like that. And so I was like, oh, I don't have to go and get a high yield savings account. It's fine. I'll just keep renewing these CDs. But then something happened to me that turned me off for CDs. So there happened to be this like worldwide glitch in this system, and my money was stuck. Like there was no way for me to close the account. It wasn't going back into my savings. It was freaking me the hell out. I waited a week. I finally got my money back. And I had been calling, I'm telling you, like I had been calling, I had been going to the bank, I'd been for a whole week, and nobody could figure this out. So one day finally it closes, I have this amount of money. The next day, I have double the amount of money in my account. And I start freaking out because I'm like, what the fudge happened? Like, how did this happen? So I call the bank and I'm like, hey, I have double the amount of money in my account. I know this is not supposed to be here. I don't know what happened, like where this money came from, but I'm not trying to go to jail. Can you please figure it out? So after that, I was so hesitant to like open another CD account because I was like, what the hell? Then it made me really feel like, is money an illusion? Like, where did this money come from? How did nobody trace this? Like, I could have easily lied and kept that shit. I don't know. That's not me as a person, so obviously I called, but I just found that very sketchy. So I had been talking to a couple of people who had high yield savings accounts in online banks, and I was so hesitant, and I kept learning from a certain influencer, which I'll mention later. I kept learning like the reason why they're able to give you more interest for your money is because there's no brick and mortar, there's no place like to go, and because of that they're able to pay you more interest for keeping your money in their bank. But it made me really nervous to think that I couldn't walk in and talk to somebody, that it would all be online or it would be over the phone, and it just made me really nervous. And I was like, I have loyalty to my bank, like I don't want to leave. I feel bad. Do not feel bad. Do not do what I do. Go and switch over to your high yield savings account. I don't know why I did this. I've been trying to convince my mom to do this. Like, I don't understand why I thought my loyalty to this bank meant so much. They don't give a shit. So I reversed my accounts at my bank so that they're not tying my hands with how much money I could have, and I started transferring just huge lump sums of money over to my high yield savings account. and I started making like $100 every month just by having my money there. And when I'm at my regular bank, I was getting 35 cents. So I was like, my goal in life is to make money while I sleep. So yes, do it. I did it and I haven't regretted it. And I'm so thankful. Now I have 2 different accounts, one for funds, one for bills. I did not want to do this because I did not want originally to have so many different accounts. Like, I'm like, God, I have 2 403Ps in 2 different places. I have this bank, now this bank, and then this credit cards with this bank. So I just didn't want to have so many different companies, because I thought, like, not to be morbid, but I'm like, when I die, my husband's gonna have my parents are gonna have a very hard time gathering all the information and proving that I passed in order to get their money. Like, this is gonna be way too much. But honestly, now that I think about it, go with whoever is offering you the best deal and just move it. And so what if you have different accounts? I just made a list. That way, if anything happens to me, they know where to go. Next thing I want to talk about is the Roth IRA and the mistakes that I made. So I didn't really know, like, whether it was worth getting a Roth IRA. I already had, a 403B, and I have 2 different ones because I have 2 different employers. So I was like, is it worth it? Can I? And then I realized, like, why not? So what I did when I started learning a little bit about the stock market was I opened a Roth IRA. Stupidly, I threw $7,000 in there immediately. And I had been hearing that some people will open their Roth, they'll put money in it, but then they don't invest in it, and then it just sits there. So that's one thing that I didn't want to do, but I didn't know what dollar cost averaging was at that time. So when I opened my Roth, I straight up put everything into an ETF and won, and at once. And I think the price of this ETF at the time was like $500 a share. So I believe I only have like 13 shares. I didn't realize, and I didn't want to do this just because I'm stubborn. I didn't want to throw my $7,000 in there and then weekly like go and have it automatic payment. I want to be in control. Like, I know the automatic payment makes your life just so much easier, but I'm like, no, I want to physically go in and do it every single week by myself. But yeah, I was dumb and just threw it all in one straight shot in one stock. And I've made, I want to say, $600 in the last couple months in this Roth because of the compound interest and because of the stock going higher. So that was another thing I had to learn about, was compound interest and how the stock market grows and how it can fluctuate and like what's safe and what isn't. So I just threw it in the S&P 500 and left it there. But next year I won't be doing that. I will put the max amount, whatever it is next year, if it's still 7,000 or if it goes up. For my age category, it is 7,000. So that's why I decided to put that much money in it. To me, it's worth it because the differences are huge. There's the penalization and like the pre-tax money versus not pre-tax. So that's exactly why I ended up opening the Roth. So I will be contributing the max amount next year as well. Next thing I'm going to talk about is influencers. There's 2 influencers that I follow and started watching all their videos. There are a ton out there, but the one person that I really started watching, her name was Rose Han. And I thought she was really cool. She still had like a van life, and she started a YouTube, and she just started teaching me about multiple streams of income, different ideas, and I just liked her videos. And I was like, one thing that made me laugh was I was like, I'm never gonna be a millionaire. Like, that is just not something that I can accomplish in my life. And she's a millionaire. This other guy that I'm gonna show you is a millionaire. And then I thought to myself, why can't I be a millionaire? Why don't I see this for myself? How come? And honestly, after everything I went to transitioning from becoming a nurse to a nurse practitioner, to me, money isn't everything. It is not the most important thing in life. But I want the title. And I only want the title of being a millionaire. Honestly, I don't care about having $1 million. I care about having the title of a millionaire. Why? Just to prove that I did it. So here she is, Rose Han. Go and subscribe. I like all her videos. Like, I watch them. Some of them can get a little repetitive, but like, I think that just comes with becoming an influencer. The other guy that I watch, his name is, sorry, I'm trying to find it. just started following him. He was a teacher and then he quit his job and became a millionaire, and now he does YouTube. Crap, where is it? Sorry, like trying to film and find this at the same time. But yeah, I like his videos too. So his name is Steve, but his socials is a Call to Leap. So go hit and subscribe. I like him too. A friend, which that's what I'm going to dive into next, is who recommended me to him. Caution with influencers, they're influencers. Their goal is to get views. So, and it's like, how much do they really know, right? Like, am I getting the best advice? Like my dad, when I went to the bank to tell them like, hey, what can I do with my money? You know, like I have this goal to be a millionaire by 2030. Like, what can I do? And I'm like, don't laugh at me, but I've been watching YouTube videos. But it's like, I cannot stand when people come to the hospital and they're like, well, I saw this on Google, or Googled this. You know what I mean? So it's just like, kind of like, careful what you listen to. But yeah, influencers, there's financial influencers out there. That's how I learned some of the stuff. That's how I got some of the book recommendations. And that's how I, honestly, finding Rose Hahn is why I became financially a little bit more literate than I was. Okay. There's three more things that I want to talk about. The other one is talk to others. So honestly, when I went to the bank, I didn't realize how many people actually don't save, how many people don't have a savings account, they don't have emergency money, and it was mind-blowing to me. So I started talking to others. I have a friend who is a financial advisor. I have another friend who has kind of the same goal and mindset with me when it comes to money. I think we view money a little bit differently, just based off our upbringing. But I was like, oh, okay, like talk to others, get ideas from other people, see what they do. Like talking about it, especially like I have a friend that used to be my roommate who I love. He's doing this type of investment, or he thinks this is more important. So like, I don't know, just talking to others, vibing off others, seeing what other people do in your circle, or seeing what not to do, learn by experience. I honestly like love talking to people about that. Like, hey, what do you invest? Hey, do you dabble in the stock market? Like, do you have a high yield savings account? Like, if I never started asking questions, I wouldn't have learned about this. And honestly, I did not make the jump to get a high yield savings account until I was working with this travel nurse who happened to have the bank that I was looking into with the high yield savings account. And he whipped out his phone and was like, look, this is how much money I have, and this is how much money I've made this month alone in interest. And I was like, I'm sold. I'm going to sign up when I get home. So I think talking to others and just seeing what other people do, especially if there's someone out there that you feel is financially stable and you kind of want to know, I think we should stop having a stigma on like, oh, you don't ask people how much they make. I don't care. I will tell you how much I make. And I will, because I don't make a ton of money, but my bills are so low that I have the ability to have financial freedom because. All right. Next on my list is CME money. So this isn't going to apply to everybody, but if your job, so my jobs offer me, number one doesn't anymore just because of my status, but if I was to be full-time at my nurse practitioner job, they would give me $5,000 a month, and a year, not a month, $5,000 a year for continuing medical education. My nursing job, because of my status again, there, I get between so now at my nurse practitioner job, I don't get the $5,000. When I was part-time, I was getting $2,500. I've never been full-time there. So now I don't get anything from them because I'm per diem. So I'm as needed. I don't get those benefits. My regular nursing job, however, though, they give me, if I was full-time, they'd give me $3,000 a year for education. And they would, because I'm part-time, I get $1,500 a year. Take that to your full advantage. There are classes that I've wanted to take. The approval process is a pain in the butt, but it is worth it if you're not going to spend this money. So I haven't told anyone this yet. So if you're watching this video, now you know it was going to be on my 2025 New Year's list. But I, this year, really learned about food, nutrition, and all this stuff. And I was debating on whether I was going to make my own company with like becoming a nurse practitioner who really tries to get people off their medication by diet and exercise and getting people off drugs. That was my goal. And the classes, I was going to take them through, I'm taking them through NASM. The personal training one with a discount was like $800 and something, and the nutrition one with the discount was like $500 and something. I also I took a couple classes from the lifestyle medicine, I think it's college of medicine, I don't know. But anyway, I took 3 classes with them. I took a diabetes one, just a general nutrition, and then like a pregnancy patient, because I know nothing about that population. So my job paid for those courses. I didn't have to pay anything because I got them approved. Not the personal training one, I'm going to see soon, but why not better yourself? Why not use your CME? Do not let it go to waste. This is free money. It is part of your package. I took those 3 courses. I want to say it totaled like $300 and something. I took Japanese this year. I took a full year of Japanese, which unfortunately my first course wasn't approved because I didn't have the right receipt, but the second one was. So that was $250 that I got paid for and took this class for free, and now I can speak elementary level Japanese. So it is amazing. Don't skip on it. Just test the boundaries. If you feel like there is a class out there that they might not pay for, try it on anyway. When I got my nutrition course, I didn't think they were going to pay for it because, one, I'm in critical care. I do have pregnant patients once in a blue moon, but I was like, they might not pay for this. They paid for it. My certified nutrition coach class, what does that have to do with critical care? Mind you, we do have registered dietitians that I work with, but like I said, we have a registered dietitian. What do I need it for? But they ended up paying for it. So I've gone to seminars, trauma conferences, like things that my job paid for because it's related. So that is another thing that I would definitely do. Like I said, I got $1,500 worth of courses that were paid for, and it bettered myself as a provider, bettered myself as a nurse, bettered myself as a human being by learning a new language and learning about food nutrition. So don't let it go. All right, last thing I'm going to talk about is the stock market, and I don't know too much about it still after reading all these books and learning and talking to people. I have just the smallest amount of education on it, but I can see how you can make so much money, and I've watched so many of Rose Han's videos and Steve's videos on just compounding interest, how to stay safe, like just buying ETFs, mutual funds, stuff like that. I am not at the point where I feel comfortable going and investing in a certain stock. There's so much to do when it comes to researching a company, seeing their earnings, seeing who their new president is, if they switch their new president. Like, there's just so much into it. I tried to learn how to day trade. My dad just taught me that, but I was like a little confused by how does it actually work. So it is definitely something that I feel, like I said earlier in this video, you have all the tools, you just have to learn how to do it yourself. So that is my next goal. Is like, I've already read the book. There's one more book that I'm going to pick up. My dad sent me the name of it, The Candlestick Trading Bible by Munehisha Homa. Just do that right there. So I have to go pick up that book and read it. But I think the stock market is an easy way to make money, but it's also an easy way to lose all your money, as I know from that one stock that I bought. The reason why I bought that stock was a doctor recommended it to me, and they pay high dividends. I was making like $40 a month in dividends, and I was like, cool, I'm not doing anything, my money's just sitting here. And then I got dividends, but then once I lost more than 8% of my investment, I was like, shit, that $40 a month of dividends did not equate to the amount of money I lost when it came to the overall amount of money I put in there. So stock market, if you don't know about it, learn, because people are making so much money, especially like social media, you guys. I know my YouTube career has not kicked off, but I still try. One, it's a hobby for me. I love making videos, but two, one day it could be something. And I'm like, you just have to keep trying. So there was one year where I was so close to being a YouTube partner and getting paid, and then I saw it, like, I just mentally, it was during COVID, like I just had to get off the internet, and I just saw those numbers plummet. But definitely I would try to make a hobby. Like, that is going to, there's so much money to be made on social media, it is insane. Like, these people that are making $40,000 for one sponsored post, absolutely insane. So YouTube is still a stream of income that I am trying to attain. I haven't gotten there, but who's to say it's not going to happen? So I'm just going to keep trying. But yeah, the stock market, it's been very fascinating learning about it. Some people told me like, oh my God, don't get too obsessed. Like, you're going to watch the numbers, it's going to drive you crazy. And I did feel that way at first. So it is exciting. It has changed like my morning routine. In the morning when I wake up, I always like meditate, journal, and then started checking the stock market. But I didn't want to get so obsessed with it. But there's so much for me to learn that I'm excited. So I'm going to continue talking to people that I know that are really good in it, and so that I could become really good at it. And then maybe one day I'll come back and make another video and teach you what I learned. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this is helpful in any sense. Please do your own research, listen, read. Like I said, the best habit that I picked up this year was reading. And when I say I read everything and anything, like, this was the best book that I read this year. I know it has nothing to do with finances, but let me tell you, I learned a lot from that book. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.